Hey everyone, Tech and Ninja here with episode 2 of my RPG news stories of the week and opinions. But this time we've got some extra guests part of the staff roster. Guys, if you want to introduce yourselves?
Well, I'm Ridge. I'm here at the request of Tekka. He's been a very good friend of mine for quite a long time. We've been playing RPGs for God knows how many years. I mean, my fondest memories would probably have to do with like getting really poor versions of Final Fantasy IV on the PlayStation 1 because I grew up in PAL territories where we didn't get anything until about FF7. I legitimately thought there were 7 games about Cloud and his friends for a very long time, so that's about my background on RPGs.
Okay, I'll go next. My name's Chris. I've been a friend of Tekka for quite some time now as well. Tassos here actually introduced me to RPGs in general, and ever since then, I've been hooked. Final Fantasy is probably my favorite series, and I look forward to talking more about it.
Hello everyone, I'm Castormino. I'm a friend of Tekka's as well, introduced by a second friend beyond the scope of this area. I do enjoy my RPGs, and Final Fantasy is also one of my favorite RPGs, like the other two. And first RPG would have been Final Fantasy 6, and 8 is still by far my favorite.
Alright, so for the news, first up, we've got a bit of a doozy for Final Fantasy 15. So, there's another active time report that's coming on November 10th. This is going to be the final active time announcement before the release, which is in 2 weeks' time, or 3 weeks' time. So, they're basically going to summarize the last few updates, as well as announce a few extra little bits and pieces.
I can say first and foremost, I've been following the development for 15 since way back in the day. Really hyped for it, and any information or media they drop, I'm all over that.
At the moment, I really fell out of enjoying the series around about 9 to 10 and onwards. It didn't appeal to me anymore, and I feel that this one's going to definitely give it a refresher that it deserves, because I feel that the series has stagnated quite a bit, and this has got that right mix of sci-fantasy that everybody enjoyed about 8 and 7, but more of a heavy political focus, and I think that's what's really going to draw people in.
The political focus concerns me a little bit because I actually much preferred 8 due to the great story of the protagonist, Squall. But as for Final Fantasy 15 itself, I'd like to. It does interest me a fair bit, and the problem is that I'll probably be playing it way after everyone else has played it. So there is a bit of hype for me, and I would definitely be interested in seeing some opinions from other people who actually love the Final Fantasy series.
Did you guys see the Kingsglaive movie?
No,
Loved
I haven't,
it.
I'm afraid.
In the movie, I won't make any spoilers for you, but they did go into a lot of the peace treaty signing and what that involves, and all the fancy parties that they'd have to put on to try to play face in front of the other people and what was going on in the background, which I thought was really, really good. And if we can actually see a lot of backstabbing going on, and how like Noctis's dad's passing and all that sort of stuff is going to affect him during the story of the game or whatnot, and then slowly how the kingdom would be falling apart, because I mean they don't have a king to lead them. They've been taken over, so it'll be interesting how if other trade places, for instance, would get things from Insomnia, now they can't anymore, and if that would hamper their journey, for instance, and how Noctis would be taking down notes, I need to fix this when I become king, or I need to take this into consideration, because I bet he's going to go to a lot of slums and meet people who are in terrible positions. And I want to see if they're going to build on his stature of character of how he could someday become king, and if he's going to be a tyrannical ruler, or if he's going to be a positive person who goes for positive change with people.
Interesting concept. I won't deny.
Well, see, the one thing I'm not liking about Final Fantasy 15 is there's a couple more news pieces for the for this video. They're actually okay. Final Fantasy 15's marketing and advertising has been aggressive with all kinds of little spin-offs and stuff. And they're going even more crazy now. They're releasing a third mobile game as an MMO. Basically, a Final Fantasy 15 MMO mobile phone game made by the same developers as Mobile Strike. So it'll be a high budget one, but it's still pretty curious what they're doing. And also the fact that a lot of retailers, GameStop and whatever American retailers, and even JB Hi-Fi, EB Games here, are going to have their own exclusive pre-order weapons as well and pre-order items. So
How do you
there's
guys
literally the Square. If you go to the
that?
Square Enix YouTube, there's 16 trailers for 16 pre-order
Yeah,
bonuses.
I was really concerned about that.
Yeah, that concerns me immensely. I mean, I'm looking at the list which I made earlier when I broke everything apart. The Ultimate Edition, well, it's like 265 off the Squeenix online store, and it contains a fair bit. But then I look at the Amazon US one, and there's also a heck of a lot. So, it's sort of like the pre-ordering in this case seems like it's a bit overdone. And the other aspect of it is, are all those weapons going to be available in game as well, and you just get it earlier, or is it just exclusive and no one else can have it, sort of thing?
That's an issue.
Okay,
you notice with pre-order.
I've just got a few things to say about that in regards to what the access to the season pass is going to mean long term for the game. First and foremost, all the pre-order bonuses that exist in the game, they will most likely all come to season pass holders later on down the line. They will be exclusive for a time, but that will pass later in the game's development.
Yep. I was thinking that. They've done that with a lot of games before, where it was like a bonus for the first couple of months, and then you could get it at a later date. Because I remember, like, when Hyrule Warriors released over here, we didn't have any of the pre-order DLC that they were getting in America, and then later down the line, we were able to buy the 64 outfits and the Majora's Mask outfits and all that jazz.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't mind if we do get it at a later date, but at the same time, one of them that concerns me, did you notice that one of the DLCs was the camera for selfies and that sort of stuff?
I think so. Yeah, there's a camera kit.
Yeah, so the thing is like, I mean, is it just going to be a silly little thing where you can take in-game selfies, or are they going to build on mini-games and that sort of stuff with it? Because it seems like a thing Enix would do, like taking photos of ghosts or something like Project Zero Fatal Frame or something silly like that, and I just feel that, are they barring a fun mini-game from us with pay DLC? Because I feel that's a bit, and that's a strange thing, because you know how this whole thing's supposed to be the road trip and the brotherhood and all the guys, being together and spending time together and learning about each other. I feel that taking the camera out kind of ruins that part of, was it Prompto who takes the photos, I think, the part of his character?
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, that's like, if it was like, oh, do you want to hear Batman's angst? You got to pay $2.99 for that, and that kind of pisses me off.
Gosh. Yeah, and that's what I hope as well, is that it doesn't just get gated to only just that place, and you can actually have it from other places. Later on down the track, you can get it as a DLC. That would be rather interesting, actually.
It's just they need to push a strong narrative for people to get hooked on this, because that's what I find the problem is with a lot of open world games these days. Is it's just kind of like, here you are, I've put you in the middle of something, go walk 20 minutes east and something might appear, and it's just endless nothing. And I think that was what, like, a lot of people had an issue with the current Fallout game. Just there wasn't that much characterization as opposed to 3, and it's just like taking bits and pieces of something that's integral to a character. So say Prompto turns out to be a photographer, but he can't do that unless he has the DLC. You're ruining that whole them getting a photo frame shot thing together that would reinforce story-wise, thematically, they're best buddies and they're all together, And like, I know I'm probably nitpicking here at something that's incredibly tiny, but let's just suggest that this does well, and then if there's FF15 2, which we all know that's probably going to happen, then what next? They're going to have DLC for like Noctis's childhood toy or something that's representative of something else, and then we can't access something that's going in more depth about him. But I guess that's the same thing about the DLC with the separate characters. They're barring off parts of their personalities with a paywall. That's what I feel anyway.
That in itself is a problem with modern games in general.
I was actually thinking, wasn't that what they did with the demo?
The Disgaea or the Platinum?
For Final Fantasy 15, they had the demo where I think you played with Carbuncle, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah. That was the Platinum demo.
All right. Sorry, I wasn't sure which one that was.
No, so I mean, did you guys like that demo much? I thought it was a little too I don't know how to put it. It
was very much a tech demo more than anything else.
Yeah, and I think they presented it in a really weird way in that whole Alice in Wonderland thing, and step on this dial and watch what happens, and I don't know why they couldn't have just given us another little mini-map and we could have seen how things flow themselves if they were... Because like, it felt a bit strange that they were trying to show you, we have a day and night cycle, but the day and night cycle only activates when you stand on a switch. which the whole point of the day and night cycle is it happens while you're playing the game, so you feel immersed in the game that, oh no, it's just become nighttime, I better quickly run away because different monsters will come out. And I think they presented it not in a good way. That's, to the final product. Did you guys mind the combat in it too much, or?
I actually really like the updated combat in there. So, because the original combat, you actually changed weapons. You didn't change weapons like fluidly, but now you can just use the D-pad to change them.
Yeah, I was happier that they went with a manual switch type thing, similar to Devil May Cry, I guess. And that's the other thing that we can discuss is how is this going to get compared to major action games like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta when, because you guys know that Platinum Games are working with Enix on the new Nier game. Yeah. So it stands to me, have Platinum gone and put their fingers in it for a bit? Because I've heard that the battle systems had a rather large overhaul going from that weighty Kingdom Hearts battle to more zipping around in style and slapping people about.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see a mention from them in the credits.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would make sense for Enix to do that, because otherwise they're just wasting resources effectively. And I mean, this game's got 10 years of hype to live up to now? I mean, we don't want another Duke Nukem Forever on our hands, do we?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, talking about Square Enix games, there's a couple of games of theirs I'm really hoping that we get to see at some point down the line in English. There's a Dissida mobile game coming out that's kind of a hybrid between the PSP Dissida games and a classic Final Fantasy turn-based game. And there's also the Dissida Arcade game, which just recently added Sephiroth. At some point, I'm hoping we do get those games, because they look like pretty neat spin-offs, and we need more Dissida. Dissida was a great spin-off game.
I have to agree with that entirely.
Yeah, I agree, and I'd actually like to see them port it to a different device rather than mobile. Maybe on a PS4 or even on, say, a 3DS, I suppose, because honestly, I think we can all agree that the PS Vita is pretty much gone now. But it deserves. I think that you could put it into a PS4 and make it even more powerful and add extra stuff in it rather than just put it on a mobile and you're pretty much restricted to just how powerful the mobile is.
I think that would probably be because of the Japanese games market at the moment why they're doing that, because mobile gaming and handhelds are really, really big there. That's one thing that we can look at, because me and Tassos is going to be going to Japan in May next year. So we're going to be looking at a lot of the arcades to go to, and obviously the Dissidia machines are on our list to go check out. So we'd obviously be able to talk about that when we come back at some point during one of the episodes or something about how the whole thing went.
Yep. Which
would be really good. But yeah, the whole mobile aspect's bugging me. I agree with you that I would prefer it on a much larger console, but it's that Monster Hunter syndrome that they have where they could release a console edition, but once again, handhelds are much bigger in Japan. Possibly there could be a Switch version, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would like it, especially if they're porting it over to Western countries like US here and wherever else.
I could see that working on a Switch version. So if they did a mobile version, all they'd really be doing is pulling a HD edition on Switch or whatever. They wouldn't really need to upgrade it massively.
Just so you guys know as well, in regards to the Dissida Arcade that is currently active in Japan, that software is running on a PlayStation 4. So,
okay. So yeah, there would be.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Be absolutely no work for them just to port it over, really.
Exactly, and I'd love to see a Dissidia on PlayStation 4 or consoles in general, even if it released on the Xbox as well. That series really deserves some more recognition in the Western markets, for sure.
I think it's just that problem that they released it on the PSP over here, which, I mean, while it being the main console that it was on, we all know that the PSP didn't do too well in Western markets as much as, we may have enjoyed it, so that would contribute to it. It's like how Monster Hunter hadn't broken into the market here until it went onto the 3DS,
True.
Yeah.
Sorry, I mean, unless we could see one on the 3DS, but I don't know, I wouldn't really see it working too well.
Yeah, it depends on how, I mean, I've got one, but I'm not even sure on how powerful it is compared to, say, anything else, and whether it can run the Dissidia on at a much smoother rate or whatever, I suppose.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. It'd be fairly choppy. Because did you guys play any of the Kingdom Hearts games that Enix made on the 3DS?
I did.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yep.
I always felt that the frame rate on those were absolutely atrocious.
Dipped to low 20s at some points. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Oh god, and I mean like the D-pad was just not helpful for playing 358 days over 2 because just 3D movement on a D-pad. I mean, it was like with the when the PlayStation 1 first came out, they had that as well, and that worked fine when everything was mainly tank controls for like Resident Evil and Silent Hill, and then all of a sudden we needed 3D control sticks for Spyro the Dragon, and D-pads would just ruin your thumb.
Anyway, and the last news piece for the night is a couple of bits about Mass Effect. So they just revealed the Mass Effect cinematic reveal trailer. Everyone like knew for a while, like ages, that there was a new Mass Effect, but seems like finally EA Games and BioWare have finally given us something. And furthermore, not just that, Mass Effect 2 and 3 are also playable on Xbox One via backwards compatibility.
For those who really love the series, good on you. You can now play it on your brand spanking new Xbox One, despite the fact that you've got to still insert the CD, and the CD now does absolute jack.
DRM. The thing I liked about Mass Effect Trilogy was the fact that was it imported your save file, and stuff and changes in relationships like from the previous game would take effect in the next game.
So
Do
on
you think
that,
they're ever gonna make like a Mass Effect MMO? I'm just thinking. Yeah, I'm just thinking because I mean, there's countless planets to explore. I could see it being a thing, but I worry if it runs the risk of being a No Man's Sky. You know, like too ambitious.
You'd almost think it'd end up something. Sorry. You'd almost think it'd end up something like the Old Republic, because that's the same developer, BioWare.
See, honestly, I think a Mass Effect MMO wouldn't be a good idea. I think the best thing they could do is Mass Effect 3 had a really good multiplayer mode with like 4-player co-op. That was terrific mode, and they kept giving free updates, you know, adding new levels, weapons, and classes. So I prefer if they did the Mass Effect separate multiplayer thing. I'd rather it be some kind of full-on sequel to Mass Effect 3's multiplayer. Anyway, that's it for this week of the news. Thanks for watching, guys, and thanks for helping out with the show, fellas.
No problems.
Anytime.
not a problem.
We'll catch you guys.